Hey everybody, today we're going to learn how to do a ball bounce using Autodesk Maya 2016. So this ball bounce is essentially just a basic ball bounce. We're going to talk a little bit after we form the basic ball bounce on how to make it heavy and light. But let's just get started with the basic interface and what we need to do to set up our ball bounce as we move forward here in Maya 2016. All right, the first couple things we're going to do is one of the very first things we want to do is go to our animation preferences. Now our animation preferences, as you can see right here, are denoted by this little guy with the gear above them. And when we open that button, you're going to get a slew of things you need to check and make sure that are working. One of the first things is your time slider, and it actually highlights it right away. You want to make sure your playback speed is set to real time 24 frames per second. That's going to be very important so that the animation that plays in the window will play at the same speed as which you're wanting it to play, so like real time. A couple other things we're going to do is we're going to navigate to the animation preferences right here, and I'm going to set some things. I'm going to set down auto key, and I want to make sure my tangents are set to weighted, and I'm going to go ahead and move these for now to flat tangents, and we'll talk about what that is in a second. Typically, I like to use either linear, flat, or flat tangents just to get my timing and spacing down. That's pretty much all you have to do here. So let's move forward and go from there. All right, so I'm going to hit save. And one of the first things we need to do before we get started is make sure that we have a max frame range here. Right now my frame range is set to 120. That's right. That's pretty close to being right. So I'll just make sure it's 120 all the way across the board. And I'm going to start by then creating a sphere. So it's really important that I create a sphere, and when I do so, and if I hit W on my keyboard, I just make sure that my x-axis is left and right, my y-axis is up and down, and then that blue axis, that z-axis, is back and forth. So very important stuff. Now what we can do is we can start by making the ball kind of fall from its high point. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to zoom out here quite a bit. And we're going to set a couple values here. So we're going to start with like a value of 38. So we're going to make this ball fall pretty far here. And so this is going to be the height of which the ball drops from. Now, I can set this keyframe multiple ways. I can hit S on my keyboard. S is in set keyframe. I can right click and key selected. I can also hit Shift and W, W as in movement, so that will set the translates. I think right now I'm going to just right click and hit key selected just to denote what attribute I'm actually changing. So once we have that, we want to go ahead and we want to make sure the ball bounce falls to 0. So we have auto keyframe selected. That's this button right here. And now the auto keyframe button is very important because it allows me to do a couple very cool things. I don't constantly have to push set key. As long as I have a keyframe within a translation, rotation, or scale, or any value, for matter of fact there, I can set a keyframe. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just hit Shift W because I know I'm going to only really use translate X and Y, but I want to use this auto keyframe function, which has already been turned on in our preferences. So I'm going to move forward here. And I'm going to go forward to translate, to frame 9 here, frame 9 or 10, it's up to you. And I want to enter 0 because I want to go back down because that ball is going to fall. And you can see it automatically set the keyframe. I didn't have to hit anything. We're going to go to frame 17 now. And notice we're only dealing in up and down. And now the ball, when it bounces, isn't going to go as high. So when we go to frame 17, we don't want to go all the way back up to 38. We'll go up to like 30 or 31. There we go. So that looks about good. Now, the next step is to move forward a little bit. So I'm going to move forward about the same amount of frames. This takes me to frame 24. And I'm going to type 0 in my translate. Now, because auto keyframe is on, and because I've set that initial key, it's keyframing these for me. So we're just working in Y. All right. Let's go up the scale. Again, same amount of time. You can see they're pretty equal widths. We're going to go to frame 32, and we'll make the ball go up again. We'll make it go about 25 this time, and we're going substantially down equal ways here. We'll keep going up, which should give us 38 or 39, I think. And we will go ahead and enter that value of 0 because the ball will then hit the ground again. And we'll go to frame 45. We'll just keep working our way up, equal distances. Again, the ball is dissipating. And on frame 45, we're going to set this to, what were we at last time? 29 or 21? 19. And then 51 is about where we're going. And we'll set this to 0 because the ball hits the ground again. And as you can see, it's really a guessing game when it comes to this. I haven't played it back yet. I know I can always fix these heights. The only thing I know is constant is this 0 mark. I know the ground is 0, so I don't have to worry too much about that. So, you know, I'm going to continue to work my way up because this ball bounce is going to kind of be like a mix between a heavier ball and a ping pong ball. So it'll kind of dissipate. But I'm going to go to frame 56 and enter about 14. That looks right. And we're going to move up again. So let's see if we do that right. We should be around 61. These frames are getting slightly closer because the ball is going to make that sound, if you can hear that. And that would kind of help us. So on frame 61, we're going to set that to 0. That's our common frame. And we're going to keep going up and until this ball is completely dispersed and completely down. Last one, I believe, was 14. So this one will be in the 10 range or the 9 range. We'll go 9. All right. Go up a little bit more. You know the next number would be a ground hit. That's 0. Then we're going to go a little bit more. And again, I'm entering all these extremes. I haven't even worried about it going left to right yet, and we'll show you why in a second. So, all right, the next step, what were we on? We were on 69, so we want to go up to, we want to make it really dissipate now. And we're going to go only up to 6, because now the ball is going to bounce faster. We're going to go up a few frames, maybe to 75. You know it, hit 0. And we're kind of working our way up. That looks good. Everything's looking good. You can see. And I'm scrubbing through this. I'll show you this in a second without my manipulation here. 77, 78, could be either one. Go 77 for now. We're going to translate that to about 4 because the ball is dissipating. And then we're going to go up a few frames. You guessed it. Make it 0. And we're getting there. Go up to 80, 81 here. Let's do that because we don't want to make it too close. We're about at 2 now in the air. And then we will go up again just a little bit more. And we will make that 0. All right. So now that we have actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put one more frame in here. So I think that holds a little too long. So I'm going to grab a spot in here, maybe at 83, I'm going to set a keyframe of 0. And make sure I don't have 2 keyframes. That's 2, that's 0. Let's make this one 1. And let's go up like 2 keyframes and make that 0. That will be our final keyframe. So this is what we have so far. Really, there's no timing, and actually their timing is done, but the spacing is not thought through. So what we have to do now is kind of worry about, you know, the dissipation of this ball. So, you know, that's the end bounce looks really, really good. We have all our translates Y's, and we haven't touched Z or X. So I haven't gone left to right on this yet. We need to refine this ball bounce before we go left or right. So let's look at what the graph editor gives us. Now, if you remember in the beginning of the lesson, I had you guys go to Settings and Preferences Animation. That's where we turned on the auto key, which can also be turned on by pushing this button. But we also set it to weighted tangents, and then we set our default tangents to flat. Let's see what that gives us. So I'm going to open up my graph editor away from the window. You can just simply hit this button here and it will open up. You can see our beautiful curves. I like to see the whole screen for my ball, and it's great if you have 2 monitors here because then you can kind of move your graph editor away. But let's kind of look at what we have. So you can see we have our axis. You can tell we don't really have much action on the X or Z translations. I'm going to hit the focus key, or you can just hit F on your keyboard for focus. And we're going to really look at what we have. Now, each curve resembles this wave pattern of a real ball bounce. And what we can do now, because we've set these to automatically have these very nice curves, we can go ahead and start manipulating these tangents. And that's what these are tangents. So we can manipulate these Bezier curves to give, pretty much to give a really nice flow to our movement here. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the whole curve. I just marquee. Some people get really, and they try to get it really close. Just big old marquee around it. All these black dots represent these red lines. And I'm going to free my tangent. And that's this button right here. Let me zoom in for you here. That's your free tangent weight. Now that will allow us to do one very important thing. That will allow us to, when we highlight these, to stretch them with your middle mouse button. And that's going to give us some very, very cool options. So again, I'm going to highlight all these and hit focus for F. Now, once we have this, we're going to play with these curves and these Beziers. I'm going to start kind of pulling out some areas. This is going to give us our timing and spacing. And you can see, I need to be smarter about this. I need to frame mine. But I'm going to go through each curve, and I'm going to play with how it's distributed. Now, we'll get to a point where if I move one side, you'll notice the other side moves with it. I don't want that. So for all the bottom keyframes, and I'm going to hold shift and select as many bottom ones as I possibly can, I'm going to break my tangents. Now, if I grab the handle, and pardon me because of my zoom, my middle mouse button is not set up as properly as it should. Now I can start playing with these curves. So that's going to be very, very important. So I'm going to make kind of a hoop shape. This is way too long here. I messed that up. There we go. We'll grab this side. I'm not going to use my middle mouse button anymore because I can use my left mouse button. And I'm going to just work my way down. And this is where, it sounds cliche, but this is where the magic happens. This is where your animation actually looks animated. So I'm making these hills. I want these sharper points at the end. But that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to focus in on them. And, you know, you're going to do a first rough go around all the way down. But you're going to see a major change in what this animation looks like. Now, there are other ways to do this to help kind of get you on your path, so to speak. And we do have these tangent tools up here. So for instance, if I hit linear tangent, it kind of automatically puts it in kind of close to the direction that I need. It doesn't make it perfect though. You can see that's something that I really wouldn't want to do. And you can see I do have some keyframe problems here. This dot should really be in the middle. So if I want to, I can go ahead and just move that keyframe in the middle and adjust that as needed. So, whoops, here we go. We're going to grab this. We're going to grab that handle. I'm using my left mouse button. My middle mouse button is not my friend today. I'm going to hit F here. Sometimes you have to focus in on individual ones, even though it looks like they're okay. When you zoom in really close, you go, okay, those aren't as good as I thought. All right, so that looks awesome. All right, so check out our curve. Check out my curves here. There we go. Cool. So I have now these curves. Now I haven't played with X or I haven't played with Z. I don't really need Z in this case, but I want you to see what it now looks like with some spacing involved. Look at the life that is brought to this. Much nicer. Again, if I want to double check that I'm on real time, I'm going to hit my playback speed. I also have the ability to do a play blast by right-clicking on the timeline, the time slider, and doing that. So this is very important that we now have this. Now, if we wanted to go and put X values in, we could do that solely in our graph editor. So if I wanted to do an X value, I'm going to go ahead and let's go to our graph editor again. And let's open up X. So we know our start frame is 1 and our end frame looks to be 87. All right, so we need to set 2 keyframes here in X, 1 and 87. So you can see that I should already have a keyframe here, but I'm going to do Shift W here. And that doesn't change anything. And I do not need my Z keyframes. I'm not using them, so I'm going to take that value away. Now, right now it's set to 0. That means it's not translating left or right at all. But on frame 87, if I say I want it to start here and go to here, you'll notice that that line gets diagonal. Now, why is that important? Well, let's minimize this real quick. If I hit play, boom, 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 look at that. It translates left to right. Now, if you don't feel that's far enough, you go back to that last keyframe because you have Auto-Keyframe on, and you can kind of adjust where needed. Not bad. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play blast this just to run it through and make sure that my timing is getting close. My timing's not perfect yet. Let's close this and look at our play blast. But this is how it would render if I rendered it in Maya. Now, how do I make this a bigger ball or a heavier ball? Well, that's all done in the graph editor. Once you get your basic timing and spacing down, you can go back into the graph editor and look at your keys, and you can do a few things. One trick is you can grab them and you can utilize your tools of your graph editor. For instance, there's a lattice where you can grab all your keys and kind of warp them. There's a move to pick keyframe. There's an insert keyframe tool. There's a region select tool, which is really awesome. Look at that. You can shrink them. That is really, really amazing. Or you can pull down the bounce. This is going to look really silly because I haven't adjusted the X, but let's just look what that did. Look at this. The bounce is now lower. So now what you see is the keys have gotten compressed. That's very similar to doing this. Holding Shift, grabbing it, and grabbing the corners. That's a very similar movement, if not the same. So I want you guys to be aware of that as you go. Now, when you're dealing with a heavier ball, let's hit F here, we can exaggerate the fall a little bit as well. So I'm going to grab this, and I got to do it carefully here. Now, if you're having trouble moving it, hit W on your keyboard. That will change it. And look, I'm going to just make it look a little heavier. Boom. There we go. Now we're getting that heavy ball. So let's go back and take this one. And let's move it. I'm moving it left to right. I just want it to roll slightly at the end. I don't want to go in reverse here. Let's shut that down. Hit it again. Boom, 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 boom. Perfect. Now, same thing with rotation. If we want to add rotation, we would look at, okay, it's rotate Z in this case. So we know which rotation we need to do. We're going to start at the first keyframe, and I'm going to keyframe rotate Z is keyed. And I'm going to go to the end keyframe, and I want it to rotate one time would be 360 degrees. Well, I want this to rotate, I don't know, 1080 degrees. Okay? So what we're going to get now, as we go here, you can't really see it in my screen, but it's the values are changing. If we focus here, let's focus in. Actually, let me turn my wireframe on shaded on that so you can see it. Check what we get now. We should get a rotating ball. Yeah, if you look very closely, that ball is rotating. And you'll get occasional glitches. You can see there's a glitch right there for me because I don't have the real time on. But if we play blast this, you will get a very nice render. So that's the basics of ball bounces. Again, set up your basic display, utilize your graph editor to make these changes. Let me go and grab the ball and then go and refine your curves. Curves are everything. They are essentially built to help you and built to make your animation more lifelike. Hopefully you guys learned something from this lesson and you apply it to what you need to apply it to. And I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thanks.